I know that I think it looks like I've been crying. I'm just very tired. But hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Today we are doing a nonfiction day. Hey! I know that like every vlog on this channel since the start of the year has been very like fiction writing forward. For people who are new from around here, I'm actually a nonfiction author. That's where I make my money. I've only ever published nonfiction work. So we're getting back to nonfiction on the channel. I have been doing nonfiction this whole time. The main reason why I haven't been recording anything about it is that I've got a couple of different projects that are in a variety of different stages, and none of which, at least up until now, has been interesting? I don't know how else to put it. So as a quick wrap up, last year in around September-ish, my latest book, Cosplay and the Dressing of Identity, which is an anthropological study of cosplay, came out. Around that same time, I announced the fact that my next long-term research project was going to be on tabletop role-playing games and communal storytelling. That project is still going on. However, the thing is that when I say a long-term project, I do mean that. Like, most of these kinds of projects are 3 to 4 years, maybe even 4 to 5 years. So it's going to be a very long time of working on this. It is not going to be over very quickly. So I'm still in very early stages of it, of gathering research, trying to figure out exactly kind of what it's going to entail, doing kind of reading research, figuring out field work. Then the field work itself is going to be for like 2 years. It's going to be a lengthy process. And so it's very slow going. And I haven't made a whole lot of progress, and so it's kind of, I don't know how interesting that is to view when it's kind of in those really early stages. I also have a couple of other projects that I'm working on. Several of them are in the brainstorm, is this even a thing stage? And then I have one that I'm putting an actual proposal together for. And then obviously in nonfiction front, I run a video essay channel here on YouTube over on Incidental Mythology, which is kind of more smaller bite-sized pieces of my research in regards to mythology and popular culture. So I decided that we're going to record today because each of my projects, I think, are at a stage, at least for today, it will not be the case later, but for today, each of my tasks that I have to do for my various projects are actually things that I think are worth either talking about or demonstrating how it works and figuring it all out. So there are 3 main tasks that we are doing today. Number 1, we are working on a sample chapter. So for book proposals for nonfiction, typically you have to include a writing sample of some form. Sometimes they will accept things that are not from the book itself that you are planning to write, but that's not very common. Most of the time they want to have a writing sample from the actual book that you are planning. So I have been putting together the proposal for this project. I am putting together the writing sample today. So I've already done, I think, like 1,000 words on it or something. So I have to keep going, keep writing. I'm hoping to do at least another 1,000 words today. The topic for this one is on video games as a mechanic of storytelling. So I have written about this before on an academic side, so I'm kind of distilling the academic to a general audience in this chapter. The second primary task that we need to do is we need to put together the beginnings of basically what will end up being kind of like an annotated bibliography. Now, for people who have never dealt with an annotated bibliography, basically what it is you have like the full, citation information of a particular source. So you have everything as if it would appear in a works cited list or a bibliography. But then instead of just going to the next one, you have a little bit of information that somebody writes about that particular source. So often it is a quick summary of the main points, why it's important, what's going on in this piece, and then maybe a little bit of thoughts about it. This is something that I did back when I was doing my PhD. This was something that I did just a handful of times when we were trying to get an idea of how I was approaching a particular method. I was doing a lot of readings about the method or examples of the method and then kind of using it as a way to explore my own thoughts on the matter. Today we're doing it for the tabletop role-playing game book, but the purpose of it this time is to help me sort out the multitudes of citations that I have read in my life. So I have been doing research in some form or another for over 10 years. But 10 years very seriously, because that was when my PhD started. So I have been doing this for a very, very long time. And yesterday I did a catalog of all of my sources that are in Zotero, which is a software that you can use to store and manage citation information. And I have 797 sources that I have to manage. So that's a lot to sort through. And so I'm at the stage right now where whenever I'm picking up a new book or a new research project, I have to try to I scroll through my giant list and I try to think of what's relevant and kind of put it to the side, and then I have to try to reread it or look over my notes, and it can be really overwhelming. So what I was thinking of doing was to do an annotated bibliography of certain topics that I think are going to be important for the project. So that way, when it comes time and a little bit later, or when I'm doing field work and I go, oh, this thing reminds me of that thing that was mentioned, I have the source, I have my thoughts on it, I have my notes, it's a quick summary, and I can remind myself very quickly of what the topics were. So this is just kind of a nice memory boost of certain topics, so that way my mind is not still full of all the cosplay things, and I can kind of start having my brain be filled with all the video game and tabletop role-playing game things. So that's the idea. So that's task 2. And then the last task of the day is actually just doing some plain old good fashioned reading and research. It was originally going to be, and it still might be depending on how I feel closer to time, but I picked up a really fascinating sounding book called The Vindication of the Redhead. I'll put it somewhere on screen for you, which is an analysis and study of different folklore and mythologies that involve the redhead, and it also goes into popular culture. I think this sounds fascinating. I was really interested in reading it. I didn't really have a purpose other than the fact that it sounds fun, but I think it would be good for doing any kind of jumpstart thought processes on topics that I can come up with for incidental mythology. However, yesterday I came up with a video essay topic that I am very excited about, but requires a lot more research and reading. I think what we're probably going to end up doing is reading about camp. The aesthetic, humor, ideology of camp. That's what I think we're going to do. I think that's what we're going to do instead. But that's last on our list, so we'll do that later. So first off, we're going to do the sample chapter, just because if I put off writing until later in the day, I'm not going to do it. So we're going to do the sample writing first with some coffee, because as I mentioned, I'm just tired. We're going to get some coffee and we're going to do some writing. We're going to aim for another 1,000 words on the topic. Let's go! Okay. I have done about, I think, 1,200 words, roughly, somewhere in there. It was a lot of like removing and editing. I don't know if my layout of the chapter fully makes sense, but we're just gonna go with it. We're just gonna write, and we can always move stuff around and add things later. So yeah, I think that brings my total for the chapter up to 1,500 words, which is a pretty good start. I feel like I should do more, but I'm cognizant of all the other things that I have to do. Maybe if we have time later. Nah, we'll be fine. I need to be able to like mull it over and think about it. Okay, it is now about 11 o'clock. I was thinking that was going to take me longer. I was thinking that would take me until noon. So I'm trying to decide if I should do something first, because I was going to do lunch and go for a walk at some point today. I have some admin stuff, and then I might get started on doing the bibliography, the annotated bibliography. Maybe I'll do like 1 or 2 of the sources, because it's going to take me a bit to go through it all. I'm not going to be able to do it all today. There's just no way. I'm hoping to get like 4 sources done, though that might also be wishful thinking. So I think we'll do 1 to 2 of them now, and then we can break for lunch, because I think that'll take me till about 1ish, noon 30 to 1. I think that'll be fine. We'll do that. We're gonna do that. All right, I have swapped coffee for tea, and we are going to get into doing the annotated bibliography. So we're gonna just do it for an hour and just see how much I can do. Yay. There it is. Okay. It's been probably like an hour and a half, I want to say. I've done 3 of them. I'm starting to hit a problem, which is that I didn't make notes in Zotero for all of these. So I might have to go digging. Yeah, I might have to take my time with some of the other ones that I want to mention by actually rereading or at least skimming through while I make the notes, because it'll be just because I don't have the notes kind of pre-written. So for the other ones that I've done today, I already had notes, so I could read through those notes and grab out the bits that were most relevant or most useful, or just the quick summaries of things, because this is not a replacement for actually doing the research. This is just something to kind of be a bit of a memory jog is all that it is. It's about 12:30 and I'm starting to get hungry, so we're gonna break for lunch, and I also want to go for a walk because I'm feeling really antsy. So we'll do lunch, we'll go for a walk, and then we'll come back, and we should have just enough time for at least a couple of hours to do the research into the incidental mythology study and camp. So we'll do that in a bit. Okay, so I might have gotten boba on my walk. Judgment's reserved, thank you. All right, so I think we have enough time to do our last task. So we have done 1,000 words, 1,000 little bit more words on our chapter for the sample chapter for the proposal. We have made a good start, I think, on the annotated bibliography. So next up is that we need to do some research into camp and storytelling and things like that for incidental mythology. So let's go. I might have been a little excited to finish for the day because I am currently moving the files that I recorded on my camera. So I'm doing this on my phone because my camera is plugged in and moving files. Anyway, yeah, so I think I'm quite happy with what we managed to do today. I did the main tasks that I wanted to achieve, and all before dinner, which is nice. So yeah, we wrote 1,000 and something words. We did a start on the annotated bibliography, and I have, I think, the vast majority of the research done. There's still a little bit more that I want to do, but I think it's at the stage where I need to like mull it over and maybe start organizing things as like I'm actually going to write it in order to know what gaps are missing. But I think I'm good with where I'm at the moment. I'm kind of happy with it. And I think I'm excited about this video essay, which is always good. I'm excited about everything that I'm doing. I think it's all turning out really well. And I'm excited about where the nonfiction is heading for this year. Thank you for being with me today, and it was nice getting back to filming some nice nonfiction research work. Thanks for being with me, and I will see you next time. Bye!